Hello, everyone. I am very excited to be here. I will be presenting the webinar today. My name is Abigail, and I am one of the dietitians here at RPM Logix. I would like to welcome you to this webinar on mindful eating. And just remind you that our RPM Logix is partnered with your physicians to provide services to you. Our mission is to educate, coach, and motivate everyone to live a healthier lives. You are all members of our program, which give you access to nurses, registered dietitians, and diabetes educators. Let us know how we can help and support you. You can speak to your care manager. You can email or call us to explore how you can expand the participation with us. This webinar will run for approximately 30 minutes, and then there will be time for questions and answers. Everyone's participation is private. If you have a question, please place it by going to the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom controls, and you can just click where it says Q&A, and you can type your question there, and then we will read them at the end. Okay. So, well, just to tell you a little bit about myself. So I have been a dietitian for 5 years now. I love to work with patients and help them to uncover a healthier version of themselves. I enjoy outdoor activities such as hiking, swimming, riding bikes, exploring new cities. And I also like to cook and bake, and I'm always trying to recreate healthier versions of the recipes and the meals that I like and enjoy. So I challenge you to try the same. And well, so let's get to our webinar and start to talk more about mindfulness. So, okay, I'm going to share my screen just that you can see the presentation, and then we can all go through it together. Okay, so let me start sharing now. Okay, so here it is. There's this thing there. Okay. So here it is. Okay, so today we will cover one of the most helpful tools when it comes to eating intuitively and wanting to break free from dieting while also prioritizing health. Many times when you go see the doctor, they tell you or they recommend to eat healthy. And when you hear this, you may think about, well, eating more vegetables, less fried foods, less processed foods, more fruits, more lean proteins. But another very important part of healthy eating is not only what we eat, but then also how and why we eat as well. And today we will going to be talking all about that. So let's start with mindfulness. So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is the practice of being in the present and bringing our minds to where our bodies are, the here and the now. It is very common for our thoughts to go to the future or return to the past. They say that depression is rooted in the past and anxiety in the future. Being in the present without judgment or interpretation enhances our experiences and allows us to savor the moment and to really enjoy and be present in what we're doing, and also like we're with someone else, like the people that we're around with. The more you practice being mindful, the more regular that it becomes. Mindfulness can be practiced by pausing, taking a breath, and setting an intention to be present and actually focus on what you are doing now and also in your surroundings. Mindfulness, it's like a strategy or a process that can be applied to many different activities. Today we will focus on how to apply mindfulness when it comes to eating, but all of these different activities and many more can benefit from being more mindful. So when you eat, when you drive, when you're having a conversation with a loved one, we're giving a presentation to others, when you are exercising, or when you are going to bed, when you bring your thoughts to the present moment, you are more likely to enjoy the activity that you're doing. And then also you are able to evaluate if the way that you're doing it or the things that you do, if they align with how you want to feel, or if there need to be any modifications so you feel a little bit better. So let's focus now on mindfulness when it comes to eating. We know that nowadays we all live very busy lives, and we all have many tasks and things to do every day. And many of us have turned to multitasking, trying to do two things at once. Like, for example, when we're driving, sometimes we're talking on the phone, or when we're with a friend, we're checking our phone, like an account or a message or whatever, when we're eating, we're watching TV, or also scrolling through our phones. When we multitask, we may think that we're saving time because we're doing two things at once, but in reality, we are not allowing ourselves to savor the moment. And also, we do not allow our brains to register the activity that we're doing. So in this case, eating. All too often, we kind of like scarf down food and then running from one errand to the next, from one kid pickup to a meeting, and that prevents you from connecting with your body. Instead of eating through meals, we snack all day long. It's for example, it's you grab a banana on your way out to go to the doctor, or you eat like a stale muffin in the break room between your lunch meeting, before your lunchtime in between meetings, or you grab a bag of pretzels and you munch on it while you're working on your desk. But sitting down for a proper meal allows you to register that you ate. And it also allows you to connect with your sensations and be able to to evaluate if you are satisfied or not. Today, we will talk about all of the tools and tips to be more mindful when it comes to eating. So now I would like you to have a reflection. So try to think about the last thing that you ate. What was it that you ate last? Like, was it like a meal or a snack, and what did you eat? And then try to think if you were present or if you were doing something else. Were you watching TV? Were you working? Were you using your phone while you were eating this last thing that you ate? And then also, when you ate this food or this snack or this meal, was it because you were hungry? Were you feeling a little bit hungry? Was it just because someone offered the food, or because you were bored, you passed by the kitchen and there was something on the table and you just ate it? This reflection, it's more than anything to allow you to think about under which conditions you eat. If you reflect on those things, then you are more able to evaluate where you are right now. And based on that, then you can make changes if you want to make changes. You can ask yourself the questions, if you're eating with distractions or multitasking, if you're eating because you're hungry or just because it's time to eat or others offer food. Mindful eating takes practice, but being honest about your current habits allows you to become aware and start taking action. And allowing you to be more mindful, more present when you're eating. And then also it allows you to be a little bit more connected with your body and start to eat and honor when you are hungry, rather than just because it's time or because food is there. So let's talk a little bit more about hunger. I don't know if any of you have heard this tip, but many times there's like a recommendation that sometimes doctors or even dietitians make, which really helps when you know your body and are able to recognize what hunger really feels like. But sometimes they say, eat when you are hungry and stop when you are satisfied. If all of us were to do that, we wouldn't have to be worrying about weight, really, because that will mean that we are kind of like honoring our bodies and giving it what it needs, because the body is smart, it's wise, and it sends us those hunger signals and satiety signals because those signals are kind of like controlled by our hormones. So when we get those signals and honor them, then it's because we're eating like in balance with our hormones. So in order to implement it correctly, it is important that you're able to identify what true hunger feels like. So, and here are some of the recommendations or some of the things that you can use to evaluate how hunger really feels like. For example, true hunger is a physical sensation. You can hear your stomach growling, or you can feel it in your stomach, like that, a little bit of like a painful sensation. That's hunger. And then also the desire to eat doesn't go away. Like if you're thinking about food and then you start to do an activity, or if you go for a walk, then you're still thinking about food, or it doesn't go out of your head, then it's probably because you are hungry. And also the desire of food intensifies over time. Like instead of, like, let's say that you engage in an activity and then you start to do whatever you were doing, and then 3 minutes later you think about food, then it's going to be 2 minutes later, then 1 minute later, and then it's just like you're thinking about food instead of the activity that you're doing. And then also a non-favorite food will sound good. Like, for example, if you say that you're hungry and you say like, oh, I'm hungry for a cookie. And then someone says, okay, no cookies, but here's an apple. And you say, well, no, but I'm hungry for a cookie. Then you're probably not hungry, because when you're hungry, you're like, well, I'd rather have a cookie, but if there's an apple, I'll have the apple, just because you truly are hungry. Okay, so let's focus a little bit more on this concept. on eating when you are hungry and stopping when you are satisfied. So in order to achieve this, it's important that we try to prevent or avoid the extremes. So there is something called the hunger and the satiety, which is this, you can see it right here. So this scale can be a way to rate hunger and satiety, kind of like help you to start to think about those sensations, so you can start to connect a little bit more with your body and start honoring them. These, all of these signs and kind of like numbers are subjective, and they will look different for everyone, but this is like the general idea. So avoiding the extremes means trying to prevent eating when you are at a 0, 1, or 2, like you try to prevent to get this to this point, and then also trying to prevent getting to this other point. What happens is if you wait to eat until you are here, like completely empty, you haven't eaten in 5, 8 hours, you're feeling dizzy, then it's very difficult for you to stop at a 6 or a 7. Because when you're at this point and then you finally eat food, you're going to eat very fast and very large amount of foods. You're going to be craving the very high calorie foods. And then by the time that you stop, you probably are going to be at a point where you don't feel too comfortable and where you had more calories than your body needed. So paying attention to this sensation, it's important. It is recommended that we start to eat when we are at a 3. Here, number 3. So when you are well, and kind of like the right time to start kind of like preparing your food or fixing something to eat is when you start to think about food. That's one of the first signs of hunger. When you, like, if you ate in a couple of hours ago, let's say 2 hours, 3 hours, and then you kind of like start thinking about food, it's probably a good time to start to plan what to eat next. And by the time that you go to the kitchen and fix it or put it in a plate, you will probably be at a 3. So that's the best time to eat. And if you ever are like feel like you're dizzy or irritable or you have a headache, then it's very important that you eat at that point, but then also try to remember that sensation. Think about the when had you eaten previously, what type of foods did you eat, because maybe you will find out things to modify in order to prevent that sensation, like maybe eating a little bit earlier or having a meal that is a little bit more balanced or more satisfying, just to prevent those fluctuations. So also, like when you kind of like start eating when you are at a 3, like hungry but not starving, then you're more likely to be mindful, because like I was saying, when you eat at a lower number, like when you are very, very hungry or waited too long, you probably will eat too fast to take the moment to pause, to your food, think about the texture, the flavors, and that's what mindfulness means, to slowing down, chewing your food very well, and thinking about the food that you're eating. How good does it taste? Do you like what you're eating? But you're able to do this only when you eat, when you still have your energy is still up, not when you have a headache or you're dizzy or you're kind of like struggling to focus. So yeah, so ideally we will want to start eating at a 3 and stop eating at a 6 or a 7. And we're able to stop at a 6 or 7 when we start eating and then take pauses when we're eating. When we're eating and take pauses, then that allows our brains to register that we ate. Also, while you're chewing your food, you start the digestion process, and then that kind of like regulates your hormones. So if you're eating slowly and pausing, then you may feel like, okay, there's still food left on my plate, but I'm satisfied, I'm not hungry anymore. If there's a lot of food left, you can save it for leftovers. And if not, you can just save it for a snack later, even if it's a little bit. And the thing is, stopping when you're kind of like full but comfortable, like you're not stuffed or you're not sleepy or you're not like kind of like wanting to untie your belt, because those sensations is when you have eaten too much. Okay, so and some people say, like I was kind of like saying with the cookie example before, like, oh, I'm hungry but for a cookie. That's a craving, not hunger. Through hunger, like I was saying, you will eat pretty much anything. Cravings are sudden thoughts. They appear from nowhere, and many times they can be caused by boredom, procrastination, restriction, or emotions like stress, anger. So it's kind of like sometimes we use food as a distraction. So sometimes food comes to mind just to get distracted. And in order to know where, if it's, again, a true hunger or a craving, if it's a particular food, it's probably a craving. If it if when you start doing something, you don't think about food anymore, then it's probably a craving too. So mindfulness can help you to attack those cravings by focusing on the cause in the cause. So if you're bored, trying to engage on an activity like a project or reading or going for a walk. If you are tired, allowing yourself to rest, to take a nap or to take a break of whatever you're doing, with breathing exercises or something like that. And also, another thing that helps lower the cravings is to kind of like try to include foods that are high in fiber and high in protein. Because when you eat balanced foods, you're able to feel satisfied for longer times and not think as much about food. Like sometimes people may say, well, but no, I'm always thinking about food. Then probably you're not eating balanced meals. Like when you eat, for example, cereal in the morning, in 2 hours, you're going to be hungry because that's not a balanced meal. It only has carbohydrate and no protein. Or for example, if you eat, let's say, a bagel in the morning with butter, maybe, yeah, that's not going to sustain you for more than 2 hours, and you're going to be thinking about food again. So in order to feel sustained for 3 or 4 hours, it's important that your meals have fiber. Foods high in fiber are going to be all of the vegetables, berries, then also legumes like beans, lentils, chickpeas, then also seeds like chia seeds and flax seeds. That's why when you make a smoothie, we recommend that you try to add some flax seeds or chia seeds so you have fiber and feel satisfied for a little bit longer, because also like the process of chewing allows our brain to register that we ate, and then also allows you to feel satisfied for longer. When you drink a smoothie, you're not chewing, so that's an issue there. So that's why for those smoothies, we want to include protein and we want to include flax seeds. So protein can be something like Greek yogurt or a scoop of protein powder. Or you can make a breakfast that has protein, like for example, an egg omelette with egg whites and a whole egg, or you can even have like chicken and fish for breakfast. Like people are used to having those for dinner, but it's absolutely fine to have a salad for breakfast. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so mindfulness is the practice of stopping and observing. And as you do this, you are allowed to get to know yourself better. And also know what foods and food combinations make you feel satisfied and sustained throughout the day without making you feel bloated, sluggish, or sleepy. Also, by knowing yourself, you can estimate when it's time to eat again, rather than eating by the clock or just because someone offered food. Mindful eating also takes into consideration knowledge. So it's not only about eating slowly and without distractions, but also about putting into practice what you know about yourself, the information that you have learned from the doctor about what foods keep your blood sugar stable, what foods can help you manage your blood pressure, and also allows you to know what it's like a moderate portion that will allow you to feel satisfied, but also contribute to your health. Planning your meals can also be very helpful, and it's a part of being mindful, because being mindful means using the information you know to kind of like plan ahead and set yourself for success rather than failure. If you know that when you don't plan what you're going to eat, then you're hungry and then you're just grabbing whatever is in the pantry, then that's maybe not the best idea. But if you know, well, when I kind of like plan what I'm going to have for my breakfast, for my snack, then you're more likely to be able to manage that. Mindful eating takes time and a lot of practice, but it allows you to connect with your bodies and start honoring the signs and the cues that it gives you, and provide that respect that your body needs in order to trust you, and then also to balance all of those hormones. And you can do this again by pausing in your meals, planning ahead, and trying to apply what you have learned about yourself, and then also being reflective. Like I was saying, if you're starting, if you feel like, well, I'm not too mindful, I just eat and I don't think too much about it, then trying to start to think about, okay, so if you're not being mindful at the meal, then after the meal, trying to think about the food that you ate. Were you hungry or not? Did it make you feel satisfied? How long were you hungry between that meal and the next? How time did it take to feel hungry again? And then kind of like take that information and kind of like make adjustments to make it a little bit more align a little bit more with your goals, and then also with your with what you want to achieve. Like for example, like trying to say, well, if I know that this food increases my blood sugar very much and I'm eating a large portion, probably it's because I'm missing other nutrients in my meal. So, and also like using kind of like this information and references. There's something that we recommend in order to feel sustained with your meals and between your meals, which is having meals that are balanced. And what makes a meal balanced? Having different nutrients in your meal. Like, for example, trying to have vegetables at every meal, then also some type of protein and some type of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are important. They give us energy, and they allows us to feel energized throughout the day and satisfied with the meals. The only issue is that when we eat very large portions, then it spikes the blood sugar too much. And that's what we want to prevent. And in order to be able to feel satisfied with a small portion, we need to have the vegetables as well as the protein there. For example, if you say, well, my doctor told me to eat less rice or less bread, and you go from eating like a plate of rice to eating half a cup of rice, you're not going to feel satisfied. But you need the half a cup of rice with the chicken or the pork loin or the fish, and then with your salad or your veggie soup or your steamed broccoli or your asparagus, like the green beans, like some type of vegetable, so you can feel satisfied. So trying to make the non-starchy veggies your main course, just because this has the fiber, and that helps a lot with satiety, and then they don't have as many calories, so they can also provide a lot of vitamins and minerals without affecting your weight too much. And then we also have the protein, which also allows us to feel satisfied. And examples of proteins is the things that I was mentioning, like things like tilapia or tuna, salmon, chicken breast, pork loin, eggs and egg whites. All of those have protein, so trying to include one of those at every meal, it's important. And then the complex carbohydrates. And when I say complex comes from trying to include carbohydrates that have fiber, and those are going to be fiber. So those are going to be things like brown rice, whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta, then also the legumes like beans, lentils, chickpeas, all of those have fiber. Then also corn and potatoes have fiber. So we want to do more of those carbohydrates and like a little bit less of the processed ones, like white bread, white pasta, the cereal, the cookies, crackers, all of those things, which are simple carbohydrates. Okay, so, and as I mentioned earlier, mindfulness can also be used for planning. We recommend sitting down one day of the week and trying to plan or write down a couple of meals that you can have throughout the week, like planning 3 different breakfast ideas, 3 lunch ideas, 3 dinner ideas, and kind of like thinking about the ingredients that you're going to be using or needing, and then checking your fridge and your pantry to see what you have available. If there's anything that you're missing, then adding it to your grocery list when you go grocery shopping, so you can buy it and then make sure that you're able to create these meals that you planned. And then also, it will not only allow you to be prepared, like for the time you're hungry, you already know what to eat, but then it will also allow you to save time later in the week, and even money, because you are more likely to use all of your resources. You buy an ingredient, you use it throughout the week, and it's usually less expensive than going to a restaurant. And if you go eat at a restaurant, they also have healthy options available. Like, for example, there's always restaurants that sell salads or grilled chicken wraps or grilled chicken sandwiches or a veggie soup. So there's options out there. And if you take a look here, here's an example of a healthy day of eating. We have here the breakfast, lunch, a snack, and dinner. And here you can see how every single meal has vegetables, and it is possible to include veggies with every meal, even with your snacks. And then also, like all of these have a little bit or some protein. Like here we have the prosciutto, which has protein, the cheese, then here we have the egg, here we have the chicken, here we have the salmon. And then, so it has a little bit of everything. It is a balanced meal, like we kind of like suggested here. And every single meal, it's better if it's balanced. It doesn't have to, no one has or needs or can be perfect. So if you have 2 or 3 or 4 days a week that look like this, then wonderful. And if not, then planning for it and trying to, okay, this week I'm going to focus on having veggies with my breakfast and my dinner, or with my lunch and my snack. And then as you feel comfortable and have those options already, then you can start to add another veggie in another meal. Okay, so mindfulness is the practice of stopping and observing. And I don't know if you know, but lately, well, in the last years, the portions have been increasing a lot. If you take a look at this image, in the last 20 years, the portions have gone to almost twice or even 3 times as much as they were before. And even when there is food on the plate, we should pause and assess satiety and stop eating even when there's still a few bites left. When you are craving something in particular, it's absolutely fine to have it. Planning for those foods you like and enjoy, it's what allows you to be able to eat in moderation and find balance. There's some people who say, well, no, I don't eat chocolate because when I eat chocolate, I just can't stop. Or I don't eat chips because when I start, I can't stop. In reality, you can't stop. Eating is a choice. It's something that it doesn't happen automatically. And when you are aware, you're able to control it. Many times the reason why people cannot stop is because they restrict those foods too much. And if they love them and you're restricting yourself for what you love, then you tend to overdo it just because the brain kind of like wants to let me get that food or that sensation while I can. So when you allow yourself to eat it, then you go overboard. So then trying to plan for those foods, it's important. For example, if you love chips, you can say, well, I'm going to have a salad with grilled chicken for my lunch, and instead of croutons, I'm going to put some chips on the top. Or if you're craving a hamburger, you can say, well, I'm craving the hamburger, so let me say, instead of getting French fries, change that for a side salad or for some steamed broccoli. And if you're craving the French fries, and saying, well, let me get grilled chicken and some broccoli and have that with some French fries on the side. So at the end of the day, it's about mixing and matching the healthy foods that you like and enjoy with the not so healthy foods that you also like and enjoy to find that moderation and that balance without telling yourself, I shouldn't or I must. Like, one of the worst things that we can do is feel guilt when we're eating. Knowledge is power, and it's an opportunity to apply it and to grow, but a guilt shouldn't be an ingredient in our meals. We at the end of the day, like I was saying, eating is a decision and you have the right to choose what you want. Then also you're going to be bearing the consequences if you decide to have burgers every day or French fries every day. But at the end of the day, it's about finding that balance between what makes your body feel good and what allows your mind to feel steady and stable and not restricted or like you have to overdo it when you finally have those foods. Okay. So now let's talk about a little bit about how the brain works. Okay. So there has been recent studies to try to understand a little bit more how the brain processes the information when it comes to relates to eating or to enjoying foods. Our brains are very complex organs, and there are 2 sections that are responsible for how we experience taste. One of them is the insula, and the other one is the frontal cortex. So the insula detects the sensations about the quality and the intensity of the foods that we eat, and that information is sent to the frontal cortex. Then the frontal cortex is responsible for assigning a reward value to that food. So it lets us know how tasty or delicious or pleasant the food is. And in order to find satisfaction, it is important that we are enjoying what you're eating. So that communication between the insula and the frontal cortex can occur. So that's why we say, try to focus on the healthy foods that you like and enjoy. If there's something that is healthy, but you just don't like it, like for example, if you hate cabbage or if you hate broccoli or if you hate chicken, you don't have to eat it. I bet that there are many other healthy foods that you like and enjoy. And yeah, sometimes it's also being open to trying those foods in different ways. Like, well, maybe you don't like raw broccoli, but you like it roasted, or maybe you don't like baked chicken, but you like shredded chicken. So it's kind of like being open to trying different things, and then also using herbs and spices to enhance the flavor of the foods, so that sensation of pleasure and enjoyment can be increased even with healthy foods and not just with the super processed foods that have a lot of sugar and a lot of fat. Those foods are absolutely delicious, and that's why our brains kind of like, oh, get that sensation of that happiness when we eat them. And the more that we eat them, the more that our taste buds kind of like get dysregulated or can get used to them. And we need more and more of those quantities to feel that same pleasure and satisfaction. So that's why also the moderation, it's important to kind of like educate your taste buds to kind of like feel that satisfaction in smaller dosages. And because the brain is being studied, and there are more and more studies that have been conducted. There was a recent one that was done in which a large group of people were divided into different groups, and each of them were given chocolate milk, and they were instructed to drink it while they were doing other activities. These activities or tasks range from either very distracting or only slightly distracting. In the highly distracting group, they had to pay very close attention to the activity in order to complete it. Then the researchers review how the brain perceived the taste of the foods, and the results were shocking. The researchers found that distracted eating can actually change the taste perception and lead to overeating. And this is because the communication between the insula and the frontal cortex doesn't happen or is inhibited by the activity, because the brain is concentrated in doing the activity or doing something else. That's why when you're watching TV, there's something on the news and you're like, oh, okay, like your brain is not registering that you're eating. Even if you're distracted for a few seconds, it kind of like interrupts that process. Then also if you're looking at your phone, then the brain is not focused here or there. Or if you're driving and eating, then that can also happen. So the brain does not register how tasty or the quality of the food, thus it reduces the satisfaction, and then people end up eating more. Like, for example, in this study, they discovered that people were snacking more throughout the day when they drank that chocolate milk with distraction versus people who drank it when they were not distracted, when they were just sitting down and drinking the chocolate milk and enjoying it. They didn't snack as much throughout the day. So how can you enjoy a meal without distractions? Well, you can do this by incorporating mindful eating. So in mindful eating is that practice of slowing down, pausing, breathing while you're doing the activity, and then chewing your food very well. So to be mindful also, it's important not to be distracted. So removing your phones, tablets, laptops, turning off the TV, trying to not eat while you're working at your desk can help you to be more focused on your foods and what you're doing. Then also bringing full awareness to each bite that you have and trying to think about the sensations, the colors, the textures, the aromas of the food, if you're enjoying it or not. Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it salty? Is it sweet? And the more you chew, the easier it is for your brain regions to have time to communicate and be able to find that satisfaction. So eating slowly and chewing is very, very important, not only because it helps with satisfaction, but then also with digestion. Some people say, well, I'm very bloated after I eat. One of the best things that you can do to reduce bloating is trying to chew your food very well, eating in a setting that is not stressful, like taking a few breaths before you start eating. And then also trying not to drink a lot of water while you're eating, because that makes the stomach expand and can kind of like mess up, like dilute the acid in your stomach and lower the digestion. Okay. So, so mindful eating does not guarantee weight loss, but it allows you to eat in a way that feels good for you. And it allows you to be present and actually enjoy what you're eating. And a lot of people, when they start doing this, they eat less because they feel satisfied with smaller portions. When you are present and thinking about what you eat, how it makes you feel, then you can identify what foods are best for you, which ones don't make you feel bloated, and the ones that do, then you can avoid them. And then you stop eating between meals, because if you're eating balanced, you're recognizing which foods make you feel satisfied for a couple of hours, then you will be able to eat less between meals, or to just because you're bored or because you're tired. You will kind of like connect a little bit more with your body. If you listen to your body, then and honor that, then you will be eating in alignment with your hormones as well. And yeah, just practicing, like I'm saying, this takes time, and it's not about perfection, but it's about progress, about getting to know yourself better, applying the information that you have in a way that also allows you to be flexible and feel good with yourself and with the things that you're doing, and then also allowing you to enjoy a little bit more. And I know, like I said before, we know we all live very busy lives, so you don't have to eat every single meal mindfully and without distractions, but try to say, well, out of my meal, I'm going to allow myself to 5 minutes be without distraction, or a few bites, try to think about the foods that I'm having. And the more that you practice it, the more comfortable that you feel with it, and the more that you start to honor your body. Okay. Well, so thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I am happy that that I was able to provide all of this information to you. I hope that you learned something, and more than learning, that you start to apply it. And then I'm going to take a look here at the questions to see if anyone has anything, then we can discuss that a little bit. Okay, so let me open up the questions here. Okay, so here's one. It says, how many times per day should I eat? Well, there is no right or wrong answer here. It's different for everyone. When you eat mindfully, you will discover that it may be different every day. Some days you may eat 3 meals and 1 snack, and other days you may only need 2 meals and 2 snacks. It all depends on the type of activities that you're doing, the types of foods that you're eating, and then also how your body feels. Sometimes when you don't sleep well, then your hormones kind of like get dysregulated and you maybe feel hungrier the next day. So also taking all of that information into consideration and being like, okay, maybe I didn't sleep as good, and that's where all of those sensations are coming from, and maybe your body needs rest. And sometimes, again, like if we use food as a distraction or as a way to procrastinate, we end up eating more than our bodies need. But there's no right or wrong. You can eat 3 times per day, 4 times per day, 2 times per day, just as long as you're eating mindfully. And then also, like I said before, that you try to like the meals, 1 meal and the next should, like 1 meal should sustain you for about 3 to 4 hours until the next one. If you eat something and you're not hungry until 8 hours later, then that means that you're having very large portions, or that you're eating foods that are too high in calories. Like, for example, nuts. Sometimes people eat breakfast and they say, no, I don't eat lunch because I'm not hungry. And then I ask, do you snack? And they say, yes, I eat nuts. And then they can be end up eating like 1 cup of nuts, which can have like 1,000 calories, which is more than a meal. So all of those things are things to be mindful of, and kind of like, okay, so am I not eating lunch, but am I getting the calories? How am I getting them? And kind of like taking all of that information into consideration to make changes if you desire to. And here's another question, and it says, how does mindful eating contribute to health? Well, mindful eating can contribute to health in many ways. It can help lower stress that we associate with eating, because when the doctor tells you to eat healthy, then you're like, okay, so people stress too much about what you should and shouldn't eat. And at the end of the day, it's about, okay, if you want to see the doctor, they told you to try to eat healthier, just think about the healthy foods that you like and enjoy. Make a list, and then look at that list and say, well, what meals can I prep with those foods? And then also say, well, what foods that are not so healthy I really like, and I don't want to take away from my plan. So, okay, so try to say, well, this or that, and then how can I make that food part of a balanced meal? And sometimes it cannot be part of a balanced meal, but you can say, well, like, for example, if you really like cookies, you can say, well, I'm going to make a cookie, 1 or 2 cookies, my dessert after eating my salad with grilled chicken, or after eating the salmon with broccoli. And then you can always accommodate for those foods. So at the end of the day, yes, it contributes to health because it lowers stress associated with eating, because you're paying attention to your body, what it wants, eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're satisfied, so you feel more comfortable, less bloated. And then also it can contribute to better hormonal balance, which can help every single system in your body. Okay. Well, if anyone has any last questions, please type them in, and we will be happy to answer them. Let's see, no more questions. Well, thank you everyone for coming in. And yeah, it was a pleasure to be here with you today. This class was recorded, so we are going to have it available maybe in the next 2 days. So if you are interested and want to take a look again, or if you want to review the information, then just ask your nurse or your dietitian to share the link with you, and we will be happy to do that. You can also share the presentation with your family. At the end of the day, all of the recommendations that we make are for everyone. And if you try to engage or kind of like share all of the information or get your loved ones on board, then it's easier for you, and then also contributes to their health. So the more the merrier. Ask for the link for the recording, and we will be happy to share it. Thank you so much. Have a great night, and I hope to see you again at our next webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.